Okay, here we are again at the new agent training, walking kind of the entire transaction for buyers. But I'm going to take a quick side note here to talk about a couple things. One, when people are talking about the market and selling their house, not selling their house, and houses are expensive, and gosh, if I sell and I'm trading and I'm going to make a bunch of money on my house, but I'm going to spend a bunch on the other house. Here's a couple thoughts. One. If you've lived in your house for 2 of the last 5 years, you've got free gains, tax-free gains. 2 of the last 5 years, if you've lived there, you've not used it for business. A couple other questions might apply, but the big one is, have you lived there for 2 of the last 5 years? If you have, you get tax-free gains on the sale of the property. If you're single, I think it's up to $150,000. If you're married, it's up to like $350,000. It's big numbers of profit that's tax-free if you've lived there 2 of the last 5 years. Well, some people are like, man, I'm going to make the money and it's going to be great, but then I got to go buy a house and it's going to be super expensive. And the reality is it will be, but you've got tax-free gains. And so whether you live there 2 years or whether you live there 10 years, it's going to be the same tax-free gains. It could be more gains, but then eventually you're going to start paying taxes. So if you wait another 10 years, interesting thing to think about when you're talking to investors and other smart people, it's called the rule of 72. The rule of 72 says if you take any given percentage rate or year length of time and divide that into 72, it's going to give you the opposite. So for example, if I were to say, okay, at 7.2% interest, compounding interest, which is what inflation is too, but that's what appreciation in a house, right? Your $100,000 house turns into 110. And now you're gaining interest on the full 110. So the next time it gains 10% is going to be 120,100 or 121,100 or whatever it is, 121. Compounding, right? You build on this number, you get a new number. Then you build on this number, you get a new number. You build on this number, you get a new number. That's compounding interest. It's like stock market investment this is what we all talk about why you invest for retirement is compound interest. So the rule of 72 though says, if I'm gaining 7.2% interest, divide that into 72, that means every 10 years, your money doubles. That's the rule of 72. Flip it the other way. If I want to know, boy, what type of return do I need to double my money every 10 years? Well, 72 divided by 10 years is 7.2. Therefore, you need a 7.2% rate of return to double your money every 10 years. It's really exciting to think about. So here's the problem. If inflation is moving up at the rate of, let's just cut it in half, 3.6% a year, which is a typical cost of living increase historically people would do, right? So if you're gaining 3.6% per year, your money, your house value is going to double every 20 years. And if you've already made, as say a single person, $150,000 profit, and then you live there another 5 years, your house isn't going to double in value in 5 years because you're making only 3.2% a year. 5 years, that's not really, but let's just run with 15% gain. Now you're at 170 something $1,000. Well, everything over the 150 is taxable. So you just wasted time and money in the house in the form of taxes at a pretty large rate. So my thought is, one, living there longer doesn't necessarily help because all it does is it might produce more income because it goes up in value, but it's taxable income potentially, or it could get there, right? So sell the house at 2 years or at 2.5 years or 3 years, take advantage of the tax-free gains and go do it again. If it's going to go up in value on your house, it's going to go up in value on the next one you buy. Live there 2 years, make another 100 or 50 or whatever, tax-free again. If this is the game you want to play and you're worried about money and all that, like that's the real game to play in my opinion, is don't stay there 10 years and wait on a downturn. Let's go take advantage of the uptick. Well, Eli, what if it does go down though? I mean, what if I sell and make all this money and then I put it all into this next house and then the market goes down 20%? Great question. Here's my answer. which house do you want to be stuck in? Your old one or your new one? It's never a matter of what, oh no, I'm going to be stuck in my house. You're going to be stuck in either one of them. You're not stuck, right? But you're going to be stuck in both of them. Like, you're not going to either make the money you were going to make, or you're going to maybe not be able to sell for a big profit on the second one, or maybe you're upside down because somehow you decided to spend most of your profits from the first house on vacations instead of putting into your next investment, which is a dumb idea. So if you took your 150 profit from house one and you stick it in your next house, you're not going to be upside down in the sense of unable to sell it. You may have losing some of your value, which then loses what you take away from a closing table if you did sell. But the question is going to be, if you're stuck for 5 years of a major recession or 10 years during a major recession, do you want to be stuck in your old small house with a growing family in number, for instance? Like, you got one kid, by the time 10 years is up, you may have 4 kids. Do you want to be stuck in the old one, or do you want to be stuck in the new one? That's the question. It's not a matter of, oh, what if, and like, it's going to be global, or at least national, or at least local. So both houses are going to be impacted. So that's how, if you really process through it, you end up at this. If it goes down 20%, it's going down 20% on both houses. So which one do you want to be stuck in? So that's one thought. One, take advantage of your tax-free stuff. Get out of the old one, get into the new one, and then be happy that you're stuck in this nice new 4,000 square foot house instead of your old 1,500 square foot house.
Amen. Preach it, brother.
Yep. So that's one way to think through that and to kind of overcome that fear of losing money. Plus, you're not even accounting for the fact that you might buy another house if you're in the fear mode, right? Most people's fear of loss is greater than their hope for gain. Always remember that. So you're going to fight that constantly. People are going to be worried about losing more than they're hopeful for winning, more than they're excited about winning. You watch it, most people, there are definitely people that have an addiction problem or have they're just wired differently. But most people do not go to a casino with a legitimate sum of money. Right? They might go to a casino with $500, $200, $1,000, $3,000. Almost nobody goes to a casino with $25,000 that they're going to lose. Why? Their fear of loss is greater than their hope for gain. So that's good. That's healthy. There's a survival mechanism in there that makes a lot of sense. But just remember that, because you're going to constantly be helping them. That's not a good decision necessarily always, right? There's fear-based decision-making, and then there's wisdom-based decision-making. And sometimes they're going to match up perfectly. Like, there's a lion over there, I'm not going into the room. That's fear and wisdom paired up, I'm not going into the room. Over here, though, fear and wisdom may or may not line up sometimes too. And you just got to help them, and they need to think and pray and talk to friends and all these different things. Does my fear line up with wisdom? And if it does, great. If it doesn't, then let's choose wisdom over fear. So anyway, that's why we have this conversation. This is the relationship I try to have with my clients. Is I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying, let's look at it bigger. Right now, your blinders are on because you're scared of something that, I did it. I lived it. In 2013, I sold like 5 houses. Well, in 2022, today, I've missed almost $750,000 of profit. I would literally be a bank account millionaire had I not sold those houses in 2013, because I was afraid of the bubble popping again. I was ignorant, just like our clients are. They don't understand real estate. You look at the trajectories, the trends, the charts. 2008 was a blip on the radar of appreciation since the beginning of time to today. So, and it was huge, and it was a blip. So that's one thing is, and I've just got so many. So one of our agents had asked about their sister, their daughter, who was going to think about selling but worried about it. So here's another idea: rent. Right? She had mentioned that rent. Here's why: rent is the best way to shield yourself. If you can do it really well, renting is the best way to shield yourself against a bad market. So let's just take, and if you figured out how to rent to own, a lease option, then you are in dreamland as a buyer. Here's why, and I know I've told you all this before, but the program, the national investor that we use, we know it as Homepartners. We never say that to our clients, but that's because that's not good salesmanship. We're saying, hey, we've got a national investor that we partner with that will blankety blank blank blank, and we explain Homepartners at the very basic level, which, by the way, it's called reverse landlording. Most landlords are in this weird situation of they own this big asset, a house, and then they're trying to find a good tenant. That's hard work. It's scary, and you're losing money the entire time you're looking for that tenant. Our investors are smart. They find the tenant first with our help. Then once they're qualified as a good tenant, we go help the tenant point to a house, and then the investor will buy the house. So the investor doesn't lose money while we're searching for a house. So they do it backwards. It's amazing. And here's what's cool. I don't even bring this up with our client necessarily, but the client can buy the house. Once they're 60 days into their lease, I think is their rule, they can purchase the home for a 3% increase in their make-ready cost, which is the purchase price plus if they had to put flooring in or something like that. So they bought the house for 100, did no work to it. They sell it to our client for 103 in that first year. Year two, it's 3% the first year, 3% year two. 3, then 3 the third year. So it's 3% increases every year. Here's what's so wonderful. I know you've probably heard me before, but I preach this every day.
So how he buy it? He buy on contract?
No, the investor buys it cash.
No, he buy cash, but he sell to the...
He'll sell to our homeowner as a loan. The homeowner goes and gets a loan whenever they're ready. Maybe they don't want to get a loan. Maybe they're not sure they're going to be in town. And maybe they can't get a loan. But either way, when they're ready to buy, if they like the house, they just go get a loan and buy the house. Babe, you need me?
Is our password still okay?
All lowercase. So here's what's amazing. And this is where I'm looking at Rule of 72. It's so much bigger than the simple things that most of us stop on. Like, you've got to help people understand the value that we offer. Here's what's crazy. I just said that the increase per year is 3%. Our appreciation rate on houses has been 10 to 20% for the last half dozen years. So what does that accomplish for the guy renting with the option to buy? We already have an option. A lease option has a predetermined price, right? Like, when we sign the lease with the option, we've all decided, okay, I'm going to buy it at $100,000 plus 3% each year. So we have a predetermined price, 100, 103, 106, 109, 112, give or take, right? It's compounding. So 3% increase a year and appreciation at 20% a year for the last 2 or 3 years, let's just use that as a number. That means the price has gone up on our house to buy it 9% in 3 years. The value of the home has gone up 60% at 20% appreciation. That's a 51% profit margin for the buyer. And he was renting the entire time. If the market went down, he didn't lose a penny. All he did was watch the landlord lose money and continue to rent at the predetermined rate he was renting at. And then if he needs to move or wants to move, he just moves after the lease is up of 1 year. If he's looking back and going, I kind of like my house. I don't really care if I like my house. I should exercise this option to purchase because the value is now 160 and I owe the guy 112. $48,000 later, he gets to pay taxes on it because it was an investment, not a primary residence that he owned. Yeah. But who cares? 48% minus 25% tax, $48,000. I mean, they get $36,000 profit after taxes or whatever his tax rate is. This is why this is such a big deal. You can tell I get excited about it because this is winning. I have people that did this 2 years ago. They are sitting on a truckload of money. It's amazing. If they don't buy the house, I'm going to be very mad. So this is how we help people get out of fear-based decision making. I don't want to rent and throw away money. What do you mean throw away money? I just made you $48,000 by renting. What do you mean you're worried about throwing away money? When you get a loan on a house, the whole time you're almost renting, you're paying $800 in interest and taxes and insurance, and $200 goes back into your bank account called equity. So if you rent for $1,500, you've got a little spread difference there. Let's call it a $700 spread. You're spending extra because of you're not doing your pay down, and you're paying $500 more for the same house because you're renting. It is more expensive. But when the $8,000 furnace goes out, who pays for that? The landlord pays for that. You divide that over the next 10 years, that's still $800 a year. Divide it over 5 years, that's what, $1,600 a year. There's a big chunk of some of that you're missing, plus all the different other pieces. It doesn't always work out dollars and cents wise, but it might make peace of mind sense to rent instead of own and shield yourself on a downturn. And if you do our program, you get to actually win on the uptick too. So pretty exciting. Just help them understand the options and wisdom, not just fear, and not what Google tells them and not what their parents tell them. Although listen to your parents, kids. But when you're 18 or 19 or 22 or 25 and considering purchasing a home, your parents might not have done that since they were 40 and they're now 60. They do not understand what's going on and all the cool features that are going on. So you got to listen to the pros. But we got to show that we are professionals, that we're business people, that we understand the rule of 72, that we understand investing, and we understand all the different ways a person can spend their money. Not because we're going to advise them which stocks to buy, but we can help them understand the differences and where they could find some real benefits and blessings. So that's just bonus material there. It was free.